If you're a conservative, you've probably experienced this. If you talk some policy with someone on the left, they probably would start screaming, Trump, or extremist. But why is that exactly? Well, let's talk about that. I'm Max Penner, and this is Roughneck Radio. Now, before I begin, I'd like to encourage you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification if you want to support this channel. You can also go check out all my socials on this side of the screen. We've got a Rumble channel and a Discord. You can go join our Discord. You can suggest stuff to us. You can have debates with people in there. We've got regional chats to talk to people from your province, all that cool stuff. And our Rumble channel, I'll start posting uncensored stuff on there and exclusive clips, so make sure to go follow there if you want to see all that. I'm planning to have our first exclusive come out sometime this month if everything goes well, if not next month. Anyways, let's get into the video. If you couldn't already tell right now, yes, I'm conservative.
Shocker, right?
Now, before I begin, I am not a Trump fanboy, but I do respect him. He's done great things for the Americans' freedoms, border security, and standing up to the establishment. But do I agree with every single last one of his policies? No. And that's just the way politics is. You can disagree with someone's policy, but still respect them. Well, at least that's the way some of us are. Across the aisle, they just shriek and scream at you to prove a point. Anyway, so let's jump right into it and discuss the similarities between the Republican Party of the United States and the Conservative Party of Canada. They're both right-wing. They both push for economic stability and free market. Both stand for common sense, both agree free speech is a human right and should be defended, and both have the same stance on immigration and illegal immigration. There's those similarities, just to name a few, but there's also some big key differences. The Republican Party is more religion-focused, whereas the CPC tries to keep religion out of policy, which I do agree with. I think there should be a clear separation between church and state, because not all, I'm not religious myself. I'm not saying that just because I'm not religious. I'm saying generally we shouldn't be directing policy off the Bible or the Quran or whatever government you're in power, wherever you live. I don't think we should be directing policy off of religious literature. Anyway. When I say the GOP is more religion focused, I don't mean that in a bad way. Faith's just a bigger part of their culture and politics down there. It shapes their values the same way community and individual liberty shapes ours here. Canada just keeps that side of things a little more separate, that's all. The GOP is more anti-abortion, whereas the CPC is just leaving it as it is up here, and the Conservative Party of Canada can tend to lean ever so slightly more progressive on social issues, although Pierre Poilievre has taken a more right-leaning stance on things ever since he's been the leader of the party, which I actually like. I think we should be a little bit more to the right on most things, but overall, it's good to have some nonpartisan and some tiny more progressive things in your policy, instead of just everything being all either progressive or just all conservative. It's good to throw in a little mix for a little balance. Now, this Maple MAGA thing didn't come out of nowhere. It's actually a political tactic. So where does all this rhetoric come from that all conservatives are Trump supporters or far right? Well, it actually originates from the fear-mongering campaign that the Liberals used during this past election, which painted Pierre Poilievre as Canadian Trump, and brought out just some of the worst-made campaigns ads I've ever seen comparing the two of them. Like, it's just very, very vague similarities in words, not even policy, just in words between Trump and Poilievre.
Everything is broken.
Everything is broken.
fake news.
Fake news.
The left-wing censorship regime.
Their woke censorship ideology.
Defeating the radical left.
Radical, leftist, authoritarian.
We want those great Canadian truckers to know that we are with them all the way.
I'm proud of the truckers and I stand with them.
Have turned our once great cities into cesspools of bloodshed and crime.
Unleashed a crime wave like we have never seen.
It's very poorly made and just a very weird jab to make. Like it doesn't really make sense. It's more appealing to those older people, the boomers necessarily, who are like, hey, that guy's like Trump, we shouldn't vote for him. He's saying the exact same thing as him, whereas all the younger generations are like,
what? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Anyway, they do this to play on their base's fear of Trump because it's an easy button to push for an easy election win. They did it in 2015, painting Stephen Harper as pretty much someone who is going to destroy healthcare for whatever reason. And they did it in 2019 by accusing the Conservatives of a nasty campaign and smearing them like shit on a wall. And they were also accusing them of ending abortion rights, even though the Conservative Party has never said they're going to end abortion rights. They're just pulling that out of their bum because it compares to U.S. politics. And, people are have a lot friendlier attitude towards abortion up here than they do down there. Anyway, I don't know why the liberals are doing that, but it worked. Trudeau also did it in 2021 with COVID so he could get a majority to push through some of the emergency measures that the House would have 100% rightfully voted against. And this campaign, it was Pierre Poilievre is Trump. And what keeps happening is people are believing the fear and excuses, and we keep ending up in the exact same situation we've been in for the past 10 years with an incompetent liberal government that keeps just destroying our country at every turn. And that's where this whole Maple MAGA thing is coming from. They're trying to turn us conservatives into a warning label for society when they paint themselves as the side of equality and compassion. But the same people who preach tolerance are often the ones spreading the hate or shutting down anyone who disagrees with them by calling them extremists or fascist mouthpieces. And when you ask them to define fascism, they can't. It's just a buzzword they throw around to try and paint anyone who disagrees with them as the bad guy. Now, the only real similarity between Mr. Poilievre and Mr. Trump is that they're both leaders of right-leaning conservative parties. Other than that, they're completely different people. Pierre wasn't born into money. In fact, he was actually adopted by school teachers and grew up the way most of our parents did out here in Calgary. Whereas Trump was born into money and handed down an industry when he was still pretty young and became a billionaire at a pretty young age. And Trump is America first, and Pierre is Canada first. Trump was a businessman before entering politics, and Pierre was in politics when he was very young. And I know that's a criticism for some people, but I don't get that. For someone to be a prime minister material, wouldn't you want them to have prior experience in politics and a history of voting for doing things that's right, like Pierre has? It's just really confusing for someone to critique him on. In fact, something I would really like to see, I don't think anybody would do it, but I feel like to serve as prime minister, you need to serve at least one term in another level of political office, like city councilor, mayor, MLA, premier, MP, at least one term in there before you can qualify to run for prime minister, because that would get rid of all the things like people like Mark Carney just pulling up after living in England for half his life and saying, hey, I'm going to be your prime minister now, and whether you like it or not, it'll get rid of all those people who do that, because it's a serious problem here. Also, the left can't explain how Pierre is like Trump at all. I actually had this happen to me in real life once. A girl said to me, quote, and I quote this, I'm not paraphrasing this, I still remember this clear as day. She said, and I quote, Pierre is the closest to Trump that we have. And then I replied, okay, how so? And then she responded by mocking me in a deeper voice, like, oh, how so? Like that sort of thing. And then I said, no, tell me how Pierre is like Trump. And then she replied, I kid you not, like this. I don't know, he just is. That right there shows the problem. A lot of people can't explain why they believe the talking points. They just repeat them. If there's any liberals watching or anyone who does believe Pierre is like Trump, please explain to me how and why you believe this in the comments below. I'm actually very curious to see what your guys' justification for this is, and it'd be very interesting to read through people's thoughts on this. But luckily, there is a silver lining. People are starting to wake up and tune out of the rhetoric and see right through it. They're moving away from the liberals. You see, the liberals' fear-based campaign strategy is running dry after a decade in power, and for voters, Mark Carney was pretty much the last chance for the Liberal Party, just like Kathleen Wynne was to Dalton McGuinty in Ontario. This is even more evident that people are waking up because as of writing and recording this, last night in Newfoundland, the Progressive Conservative Party won a historic majority government.
To paraphrase a quote.
All right, that's NDP leader Jim Dinn celebrating the win tonight, and the CBC election desk is ready to make a call. Newfoundland and Labrador has a new government. The Progressive Conservatives will form the next government. How big that government will be, whether it will be a majority or a minority, we still don't quite know. Still sitting at 21 seats, and a few races could change things, but voters have delivered change.
Dethroning the Liberal dynasty after a decade. Sure, they're the progressive Conservatives, but from their leader's speech, he looks like a pretty right-leaning guy and is going to be a damn good premier for them. And just because they're the Progressive Conservatives doesn't mean their leader and their policies can't be, more conservative. The best premier in the country by far, the late, great Ralph Klein, led the Progressive Conservative Party out here, and he and his policies were blue through and through. And here's the kicker for Newfoundland. The Liberals were leading in the polls up until last night when the PCs flipped that on its head. People are done with the fear rhetoric, folks. Even the top issues for Canadians, Donald Trump and his administration are either in 4th or 5th place, when during the election it was 1st place. And honestly, for people calling us conservatives far right, I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Since when did small government, low taxes, and fiscal responsibility mean that we're extremist? Like, come on. By that logic, I can turn around and say, oh, you're liberal? That means you support Kamala Harris down in the US. Guess that makes you a Confederate sympathizer now, doesn't it? See how dumb that sounds? It's the same level of logic they use when they call us far right. Even though the Confederates were literally the Democrats. Also, when they call us conservatives Nazis, that falls apart and makes zero sense because the Nazis were socialists. It's even in the name, National Socialist German Workers' Party. And they push socialist policies like collectivizing land and ending private property ownership. Because they were socialist. Same with Mussolini. You know how he got his start in politics? Writing in socialist newspapers. Neither of them were right-wing whatsoever. And that proves that if people were taught properly and looked in a history book, this rhetoric completely falls apart and just wouldn't exist. Anyway, enough with the history lesson. It's just another one of those things where when they run out of arguments, they just call you far-right and fascist. But here's also what that means for the left thinking we're fascist. The liberals and the left have drifted so far left on the political scale that anything to the right of what they think looks far right. It's pretty much exactly what the Soviet Union was doing with their rhetoric on capitalism in the West. Neither Trump nor Poilievre are extremists. They're both center-right. The difference comes from values and the system of their countries, not ideology. Being a conservative in Canada doesn't mean being angry or extreme, it means being practical. It's about smaller government, balanced budgets, and letting Canadians build their own success. We don't want chaos, we want accountability. Conservatives in Canada and the US share the same core values: freedom, opportunity, and personal responsibility. But our countries have different systems and challenges, so our conservatism looks a little bit different. And Trump's focus is American strength, Pierre's is Canadian strength here at home. Basically, far right is just a term coined that means anything other than left wing. center right isn't extreme. It's where common sense lives. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this short little video. I hope you learned something from it. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification if you like this channel. We're almost at 10 subscribers. I know that sounds awfully small, but I'm happy. It's better than nothing. At least I'm reaching some people. Anyway, remember to go follow our socials on this side of the screen. And until next time, have a good one.